Todd Snider's life and legacy feel like the kind of story he himself might have told, full of humor, heartbreak, defiance, and the strange beauty that comes from refusing to live life in any way except honestly. For more than 3 decades, he was a voice for the misfits and wanderers, the dreamers and drifters, the ones who never seemed to fit neatly into society's clean lines. He wrote songs not as polished performances, but as lived experiences, offering listeners a window into corners of American life that were often overlooked or misunderstood. His gift was rare. He could make you laugh, he could make you cry, and sometimes he could do both in the same verse. Even when the world felt heavy or absurd, Snider found a way to make it feel meaningful. Born in 1966 in Portland, Oregon, Snider grew up with music as both a comfort and a compass. He never pretended to be anything other than what he was: a traveler, a storyteller, a guy with a guitar who had something to say and believed deeply that honesty mattered more than polish. His musical journey took him from Texas to Memphis to Nashville, each place adding texture and weight to the stories he would later immortalize in his songs. He had mentors and influences along the way, but the thing that made Snider unique was his refusal to imitate anyone. Even when he performed alongside giants like John Prine, he didn't sound like a reflection of someone else. He sounded entirely like Todd Snider, with his dry wit, his wry smile, and a poetic understanding of everyday people. When Snider released his early albums, critics praised him, but listeners embraced him. They saw in him a kind of approachable authenticity, someone who spoke the language of diners, gas stations, back porches, cheap motels, and late-night conversations that wandered between philosophy and nonsense. He captured the spirit of Americana not through big statements, but through intimate moments. Whether it was a funny story about a bar fight, a wistful memory of a lost friend, or a sharp critique of human nature, Snider wrote with a voice that felt both familiar and transformative. Over time, his reputation grew. Fans adored his live shows, where he blended music with long, hilarious monologues that felt like stand-up comedy wrapped in folk wisdom. Snider never performed the same show twice. He wasn't interested in routine. He thrived on spontaneity, on the energy of the crowd, on the unpredictable way a story might lead into a song. He made audiences feel like they were sitting in someone's living room, sharing stories rather than attending a polished production. His ease on stage came from the same place as his songwriting, a warm, unpretentious spirit that valued human connection above all else. But Snider wasn't just a comedian with a guitar. Beneath the jokes and anecdotes was a man who understood struggle, vulnerability, and pain. His songs frequently explored loneliness, heartbreak, addiction, and the strange ways people cope with the burdens life hands them. He had a deep empathy for flawed people, perhaps because he understood his own flaws so well. He sang about mistakes without judgment and about redemption without sanctimony. His music invited listeners to accept themselves and their imperfections, to see beauty in their uncertainties, and to acknowledge that everyone, in some way, is stumbling through life trying to find meaning. The final year of Snider's life was fraught with hardship. In the fall of 2025, he released High, Lonesome, and Then Some, an album that hinted at reflection but also carried the humor and warmth that fans loved. He embarked on a tour meant to bring his new stories and songs to audiences across the country. But only a few dates in, tragedy struck. Outside a hotel in Salt Lake City, Snider was the victim of a violent assault, an attack that left him seriously injured and forced the cancellation of the tour. The news horrified fans and friends alike. Those who knew Snider well understood how deeply he valued the connection between artist and audience, and how much it would hurt him to be pulled away from the road. He spent the following days in a hospital recovering from the assault, but the trauma weakened his health. Shortly after, he developed walking pneumonia, a condition that quickly worsened. Despite efforts to treat it, Snider's body could not withstand the complications that followed. On November 14, 2025, he passed away in Nashville at the age of 59, with his cause of death confirmed as pneumonia. His death was not just a loss to music, but a devastating blow to everyone who saw in him a voice that understood how difficult, funny, beautiful, and unpredictable life could be. In the days that followed, tributes poured in from across the music world. Fans gathered online and in person to share stories about how Snider's songs had comforted them through heartbreak, helped them laugh in dark times, or given them courage to embrace who they really were. Fellow artists spoke about his generosity, his humor, and his ability to make people feel less alone simply by being himself. The outpouring of love served as a reminder of just how deeply he affected those who listened to him. Not because he sang about glamour or perfection, but because he sang about the flawed, real world that most people live in. Snider's legacy is not a simple collection of albums or accolades. It is a living, breathing testament to the power of storytelling. His songs are full of characters who feel familiar: the drifters, the rebels, the hopefuls, the brokenhearted, the ones trying to do better despite their circumstances. He had a gift for reminding people that life's imperfections are what make it meaningful. He saw beauty in small moments, a shared laugh, a scrap of wisdom, a memory that lingers, and he elevated those moments into art. Even now, after his passing, his music acts as a companion to anyone who needs a voice that understands. When people listen to Todd Snider, they feel like they're listening to someone who has walked some of the same roads they have, who has felt some of the same doubts and fears, who has celebrated the same small victories. His songs help people feel a little less alone, a little more understood. In a world that often feels fragmented, his work brought connection. What makes Snider's legacy so enduring is the way he balanced truth with humor. He never shied away from the difficult realities of life, but he also never let those realities smother the possibility of joy. His jokes weren't escapism. They were reminders that even in the middle of sorrow, laughter has a place. His tender songs weren't sentimental. They were acknowledgments of the emotional complexity that lives inside everyone. His ability to hold these contradictions together in harmony made him not just a musician, but a rare kind of philosopher. His influence stretches far beyond genre. Young artists cite him as inspiration for daring to be honest. Veterans admired his refusal to compromise his identity. Fans appreciated that he never pretended to be above them. He walked through life as an equal, a companion, someone who might sit down on a bar stool and start telling a story that could change the way a person thought about their day. In remembering Todd Snider, people remember a man who lived fully, who shared generously, who found meaning in chaos and humor in hardship. His passing left a hole in the Americana and folk communities, but his music continues to fill the silence he left behind. He built a body of work that will outlive him. Work that still speaks with clarity, compassion, and wit. Todd Snider leaves behind songs that will continue to comfort, provoke, inspire, and entertain. His legacy is woven into the lives of those who found themselves reflected in his stories. He was a poet for the wanderers, a friend for the lonely, a guide for those learning to navigate life with both humility and humor. Though the circumstances of his death were tragic, his life remains a triumph of authenticity. And so we honor Todd Snider for who he was: a storyteller who told the truth, a musician who gave everything he had to his craft, and a human being who understood that even in a world full of struggle, there is always room for laughter, connection, and song. His voice may be gone, but his words remain, echoing through speakers, whispered in bars, sung along to on long drives, and carried in the hearts of everyone he touched. Thank you for celebrating the life and legacy of Todd Snider, a man who turned imperfections into poetry, who made strangers feel like friends, and who left behind a musical legacy as honest and unforgettable as he was. If you enjoyed this tribute, feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more stories honoring the artists whose lives continue to inspire us long after they're gone.